Opposing Gloves here, and we are going to be talking about envelopes today. And there's the regular envelope. It's basically an ADSR. There's the DBD, which is an unusual one. And there's the flexible envelope, which this envelope is just drop dead cool. So I guess first we'll start off with what is an envelope. So an envelope is basically a curve that tells another signal, a target that we've already talked about, a modulation target, how to behave. And so we're going to replace our flexible envelope here. We are going to modulate our volume with an AH. I believe it's attack, hold, decay, sustain, release. I know it's attack, decay, sustain, release. I believe H stands for hold in this scenario. But anyways, we're going to add it. There are a few ways you could add it. You could just drag the control onto what you want to modulate. Or you can right click and go to envelopes and then add it. And it is added. And you should be familiar with what's going on right here. It shouldn't be any kind of surprise. So we've added our envelope. And what basically is happening is this is actually very visual. So it's kind of a help. The volume turns on fast. You notice it starts off, but you got to keep in mind this is attack time is 1 millisecond. And from previous tutorials, like on the delay tutorial, the reverb one, I think I talk about it. We know that this is like almost nothing, that we can't even perceive an attack that fast. Like it's just happening way too fast. There's no way you'll be able to hear that. You'd have to have it out like that. That is obviously very hearable, but 0 milliseconds even less, but 1 is like, it's nothing. So it's turning on our signal, then it decays for a little bit, and this is where the hold is. Yeah, this is a hold. Okay. Oh, well, it says hold, but it attacks, and so you can hold it at that value, and then it decays a little bit, so it decays, and then it sustains again, and so it remains at this volume. And it will remain at the volume that your sustain is at, so whatever level this is, as long as you're holding down the key until you let go, and then it will release. Now there are modes for this, of course, that will change it into one shot, so that when you hit the key, it will always trigger the envelope. But you see, we have a long release time, and so it fades out. But if we were to make that release time 0 milliseconds, as soon as we let go of the key, it may even click. Yep, it clicks. And we're getting reverb bleeding over. And that's just a result of reverb. That's why we still have sound. So now you have some options here. You can adjust the curve on your attack to be quite a bit nicer. And you can adjust the time the attack takes. So farther out takes longer time. Release, obviously when you let go of the key, how long it takes to fade out. And so you can see you generally don't want your release to be a brick. It doesn't sound that great. And the hold is how long. So instruments each have their own attack time. So for example, if this were a piano, you would have a very fast attack, like because it has that pluck, and it doesn't hang out at all very long at our attack volume, and so it'd go away. It's very much like a drum in that way, and it would decay, and then it'd enter this periodic waveform time, and then it would fade out. So our sustain, our decay time would be actually much shorter, which I cannot seem to get. I guess it would be similar to that, and you could lean out the decay like that. So now that's if you were synthetically creating a piano tone. But anyways, yeah, it'll loop. It'll stop at that value. So this is your attack. This is your hold, how long it stays at the attack value. So we've got it right now at 1,000. And this is at 0. And everything in between. And then you have your decay, which controls how long this curve right after the hold phase is. So you see, we could turn that into a brick. And if we took the sustain all the way down, we get just an attack, which is in this case is happening so fast you can't even hear it. But you can hear it now. And if we were to turn our decay up, it would come out. And our sustain is the thing after the decay. So our decay will go into our sustain. So if our sustain level is up, our sustain level sets how far down our decay will go, essentially. And then you have your release. So what happens when you release it? Now you have this re-trigger. So every time I hit a key, it will, well, let's get rid of this really long release. It will start at the beginning of the envelope. And even if I hold down another note, it will still start at the beginning. But if I take it off, you notice that if I hold down a note and then click a new one, right after, it's picking up where that last note left off, which at that moment it's going through the release, so you don't hear anything. But if I hold it down during the sustain, it works. But as soon as I let go of another note, it says trigger the release phase, because it's basically zooming in on wherever the other note is at in its stage. So you probably want retrigger for polyphonic working. And then you have this ADH. This is attack. Oh, wow. It gets rid of the controls for you. Attack, hold, decay. And there's no release. And so, yep, be quiet. And so it will play one shot, which this could be very useful for percussion. So even if we only hit the key for a little bit or hold it down a long bit, it does not work. Oh, well, it worked. You know what I mean. It plays one shot. It does not hold. You have presets. You have things like gate. And so when someone says they're gating something, it's a reference to usually the shortness of a note or the shortness of a signal, but it's also a reference to the method they're using, which would be an envelope. And then you can make and use your own presets. So this is the first envelope. This is your typical envelope, the one you expect to see. Then you have this DBD. Honestly, I don't think I've seen this anywhere except Kontakt. Or you know what? Maybe in Reactor, because Reactor is kind of strange too. But yeah, I have not seen this anywhere in FL Studios is what I mean to say. So this is kind of interesting. I bet it probably exists somewhere too. And so let's delete that other envelope. And now we have our DBD. This is just a decay. So we have attack, and it goes straight into decay. Then it goes into another decay. And then it just ends. This is a really weird envelope. So if we were to take our decay and turn it off, you see that this moves, and we turn our brake, turn that off or up. So you could boost it down to 1. So right now it'll immediately go, it'll just go down. It takes 250 milliseconds. If we turn it way down, we don't get anything because it goes to 0 too fast. And this is another one that if you click the note, it's going to last forever. So you can take it down and you can decay it back. And let's turn this up. So you can hear it doing its job. And if you hold down the note, or you just need to plug it again, but it will decay back up to the 0 value. So that's what that is. This, I find this hilarious. There's an easy mode where it's just a decay. And I don't know why I thought it was so funny the first time I found this, but I just thought it was great. It's basically just a decay. Well, that's all it is, just a decay. And then you have presets. So you could set up some presets. Maybe they have some things already set up. And this last one gives me goosebumps because you just have so much power. Let's delete this other envelope. So we're going to click delete, and then we're going to add our last envelope. This is the flexible envelope. This is awesome because you can add points, you can create sequences, you can do whatever you want with this. It's so cool. So basically, you have your attack phase, decay, sustain, release. But what's neat about this one is you can graphically grab your points and move them around. And you can actually right click to add more points. And that's like crazy. You'll see we have these 2 lines right here. And these 2 lines represent the sustain phase. And so when our note attacks, it'll loop through this stage. If we don't have any other points, if there's just the 2 points, it'll go through, and then when it reaches this point, it'll sustain at that note, so it won't loop. But as soon as we add another thing, it will now loop through our stage. So right now, let's really quick demonstrate that before I get ahead of myself. So if we play a note, There you have it. But if we add some weird stuff, it's looping through this middle ground here. So that's really cool. This also has a retrigger option. It's got a tempo sync option. Another reason why this is amazing. So you can sync it up with your tempo, and because it works on a ratio basis, as long as you've got Kontakt properly set up, it will work fine. And you need to move your points for them to snap. This is very similar to FM8's envelopes, if you're familiar with FM8. And if you're not and you own it, I have a series on how to use it, and it's a lot shorter. There's not some 55 crazy videos out there. So you can also change the curve. You can make them concave or bevel curves or whatever you want to do, you know. And we could even add things over here. So that's what those do. Then it gets even better. So that's pretty basic. That's pretty straightforward. We got tempo sync, pretty straightforward. And you notice we're in 30-second notes. I forgot how to change the note value that the grid snaps to. I'm not even sure if that's an option, but I'm sure it is at some point. If someone knows how to do that, drop it in the comments, or if it's even possible. So to zoom in and out, if your envelope goes beyond the time you have, you can right click on the envelope and drag up and down to fix that. So, or left and right too, of course. And so you can do that. That is an option available to you. And if you want to move one point without moving all the other ones around, you can just click on your mode and change it to fix. And now you can move one point around. You can also add points after for your release phase. Now, this is like FM8 in that your end release phase will always line up. Your last note, your last point will always line up with your attack phase. That's because of how the volume works. So just get used to life like that. Then you have, this just shows you what point you have selected. So I have point 3 of 12 points total selected. And it's got a few markers here. The absolute time is the actual amount of time from the beginning of the envelope to this point. And the delta time, I forgot what delta stands for, but it's the relative time to, I believe, to the previous point. So how long it takes to get to this point from this point. You have level, shows you the level of your point, and you have slope. Now, if you really think about the fact that you could click a point, drag it around, and it will do all these things, but it will also tell you your slope. This is really quite an incredible piece of programming. And you have your slope's 0.5 because it's a line, but if you were to change it, it changes representing the concave or beveled nature of your curve. All right, and yeah, besides the tempo sync, that's pretty much, oh no wait, there's one more really cool thing. So these first 8 points in your envelope are special. They can be modulated too in their level and in their point in time. And you can do that by clicking down here on mod, add a modulator, and now it has to be an external. You can't put like an envelope on an envelope. I wish it was like that. That would be outrageously cool. You could do it externally, I guess, if you really wanted to set it up. But you have this MIDI CC. We're going to use velocity. And you can target one of the first 8 points in your thing right here. So that's way cool. So you can target level 1. You can also target the intensity. So we have a lot of points going on right now. So let's get rid of some of them. Bring this in. And then, to be real, I don't totally know what intensity is, but I know level 1 changes the velocity will now, so how hard we click our note will change its position in time, so how fastly this responds, so make it closer or farther, and how loud it is. It's really a curious thing. So this is number 1 of 4. This is 2 of 4. So we're removing this one. So if we get to this, this becomes 1. And let's do this. So now this is 0.2 and we're moving level 2. Yeah, anyways, you can modulate those, and it has all the same settings, of course, as on that previous one on all your mod tabs. So that's what envelopes are. That's what they do. That's what you can use them for. Have fun making insane chains of things that self-modulate and self-control parameters. Because you could set these to control cutoffs. You could set these to control volume, which is what we were doing. Anything in the group FX area. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Subscribe if you own a pair of nice speakers and you feel like that's something worth subscribing for. And have a blessed day.